Ready to go?
Yo.
This is James Holder for IFL TV in association with Macklin's Gym Marbella. With me, I've got Kalle Sauerland. How are we doing, Carl?
I'm very well. I see you got a new sponsor.
Indeed, we have.
Been very smart today.
Here, Carl. We thought you was going to be the man to jump in.
So yeah, well, we'll look at it. It was still a bit dear for us.
Indeed, indeed. Firstly and foremost, talk to me a little bit about George Groves. 6 weeks since his last epic encounter at Wembley. Here we are again at Wembley Arena. What's going on?
Yeah, it's you know, it's just down the road for me. It's North London, so it's good. George as well. It's look, you know, we went away only for a couple of days and looked at a fight that would originally I was thinking maybe a tune-up or two. George came out the blocks and said, no, scrap the tune-up idea, Cal. You've got to go straight in at something at the deep end, you know, and put me in there, put me in with the best and get me a world title shot. So went away. I said, well, what's the MO? Who should we not fight? So he said, no, just take someone out of the top 15 that's going to get me a title shot. So we went sort of up the ranking, so to speak, and ended at number 3, who also happens to be the European champion. So we're delighted with it. It was a quick deal over the weekend. Friday it looked like it was off. Saturday it looked like it was on. Sunday morning it looked like it was off. And yesterday morning we interrupted his holiday and flew him in today. And we're just delighted to have this opportunity for George to really put himself back in the frame. You know, and I think the one thing we have learnt from George over the last 12 months is that he belongs at world level. You know, he's without a doubt, if I look at the young fighters out there, he's the most exciting fighter on the planet at super middleweight. You know, without any question for me. But look, he's 26 years old, right? Look at the style. Yeah, of course he'll get hit, you know, but yeah, he'll hit you back, you know, and he's someone we're just very proud to be working with.
Having spoke today in the press conference, you alluded to the fact that you would not have put George Groves in with Cole Foch at the current time. You would have built him up and gone through that European route, maybe face someone like Rebrasse first before that fight. So, taking that away, is that still the same way you're going to build George, even though he's had their monster fights?
On paper, yeah, but I don't think it'll work out that way. George is just, you know, you can't hold him back. I say that in terms of, if you look historically, we don't sign fighters really, we build fighters. George is an exception to the rule. You know, we've built fighters from scratch. You know, all our champions built from scratch. You know, so we've always looked at, you know, we like the traditional route: domestic title, European, intercontinental, world. And George has sort of skipped a few blocks on the way up the mountain, and but he arrived at the top and showed he should be there. You know. Look, at the end of the day, what was the difference between him and Cole that night? It was that one punch, wasn't it? You know, it was up to that stage, level pegging. You know, one judge had him 3 rounds up. And, you know, he got caught by a punch that could have easily have been thrown by George. You know, so at the same time, you know, hats off to Cole, full respect to him. You know, and I think, you know, one thing that, you know, George will take away from that is experience. And I remember speaking to Robert McCracken, who I respect very much, in the ring afterwards, and he said the one difference tonight was experience. And I think that is something that I've taken on board from you know what he said, and I think that's a very a good way of looking at it.
It's a great thing for your company that you're building George in the UK, because when he signed with Sauerland Promotions, I was under the assumption that maybe you guys would take him to Germany and try and build him this route, because his fan base is predominantly in England and maybe in London. So it's great that they'll have the chance to watch their hero locally, and everything pretty much going to be the same as it was, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, you know, you say, you know, I had a few comments like that. But that would be commercial suicide. I mean, you know, he's probably got the fastest growing fan base in boxing. Yes, he's a London fighter, but you know, a lot of his followers are also from outside of London. Even from the north of England, he's got a lot of strong fan base. I think that Manchester night helped a lot. But at the same time, I think, you know, George is someone who represents young people. You know, if you look at him, he's a cool young guy. You know, and. It's very London, yes, but he appeals across. You know, he can easily break into the mainstream as he's done in the last months. He breaks out of the boxing bracket, doesn't he? And if you go back in history, the last fighter out of London who really was a massive London pull, so to speak, was probably Nigel Benn, and I think George is, he's 26 years old, James. That's a long time to be, considering he's just, been involved in an event at Wembley Stadium which sold out, I don't know, what was it, 10 minutes or something, that's something impressive.
Indeed. And now having George Grove as well as David Price, are you going to be looking to dive into the British market a bit more and maybe follow it up with some more marquee signings?
No, the British market is not what this is about. It just so happens that George is from Britain and has a fan base in Britain, but we look always at people who, a few years ago we signed Mikkel Kessler. Yeah. Okay, fair enough, we're promoting in Denmark now as well, bad example maybe, but at the time it's all about, the stigma of their German promoters. Well, yeah, we promote shows in Germany. It doesn't necessarily mean we're just German promoters. Actually, last year we promoted 8 shows out of 21 in Germany. So we did 21 championship fights around the globe last year. Right? And the UK is, of course, very interesting because it's got great fans. But at the end of the day, we're not interested in small hall shows. We're interested in developing fighters that we can either take here to come over here and fight. We're talking to Eddie at the moment about Marco Hook maybe coming over here next year would be a massive. Marco Hook would appeal so to the UK fans with his style. And then, but at the end of the day, George fits the bill in terms of that he is going to be on an international level, a big thing. And that makes sense. If I've got guys like Abraham and Kessler in the camp, next year could be a very big year in terms of unifications.
Mm-hmm. George comes through this against Christopher Rebrasse, taking the final eliminator spot. He could face Jarrell Sakiabi, couldn't he? That again will be an absolute blockbuster fight.
Well, if he wins, he will face Sakiabi or Jarrell.
Will you look to make that in the UK, or will it be on the terms of
I'd be confident of making it in the UK, although we're on the back end of a split. I think it's a 70-30 split with a WBC. In favour of the champion, but at the same time, I think we've got a healthy fan base here, with the support of a TV network, which I think George will definitely attract. I think we can get anyone here.
Just going to come on to that. What will you do in terms of the platform? No doubt there'll be options for you guys to show the fight. Is it a case of seeing what fits best for George, or what's going to heighten his profile and take him to that next level?
I think it's a bit of both. I think. To be honest, I'll probably start dealing with the broadcaster issues in about an hour from now. But we're just delighted we signed the fight and wanted to get out there as quickly as possible. There's the broadcasters in this country are doing a great job with boxing. Whether it's Sky, or Box Nation. I just had a chat with Adam Smith. I think ringside. It's something which is great because we miss it. Definitely, it's being missed in Germany. It's definitely being missed in other boxing countries around the world, really, because you've got this weekly show. It cultivates a fan base. It gives the fans something to watch. Twitter. It's a great thing over here, but it doesn't exist in other boxing markets properly. It's unbelievable. We really enjoy going on there and seeing what the fans want and the fans' response. I'm not going to name fights now, but there's a couple of fights I've actually come up with the idea from Twitter. Yeah, and I think that's a great tool to have feedback from the fans. I'm dodging the question, aren't I, James? I moved on to Twitter, haven't I? I'm talking about UK broadcasters. No. Long story short, we haven't really put much thought into it yet. But we will, and we're sure we'll find a great home for this fight.
Last thing I want to touch on, Sauerland's well renowned for their competitive undercards. Big thing for you guys. What can we anticipate seeing on this undercard?
Exactly what you just said. Competitive. It will be a competitive undercard.
Let me reword that. Will it be predominantly English-based undercard, or will you bring in fighters from?
No, we'll definitely be working with promoters over here as well on the undercard. Absolutely. What we will bring over is our big event set up from abroad. So we'll be bringing over a team of probably up to about 15, 16 people. We'll have over here from our other offices to help. The first time it's obviously TV parts to an event. We're going to have a big walk-in. We're going to make it into a real big feeling event.
Well, listen, I can't thank you enough for giving me some time today. Fantastic, the food's really good as well. So I'm going to get a cheap sandwich.
I've got to get a new sponsor like you, you know. Next time we'll have champagne.
Listen, one step at a time. One step at a time.
Cheers, James.
Thanks for your time today.
Good to see you, mate.
Thank you, sir.
Cheers.